Carolyn, and I am the playwright and the director of Hooligans and Convicts.
And I'm Shoshana, and I'm responsible for all of the music in Hooligans and Convicts.
We were called militants, we were called militants, we were called dangerous, we were called dangerous. We are revolutionaries, we are revolutionaries. They can't stop it, they cannot stop it at all.
Not knowing a great deal about the subject, had never really researched the suffragist movement or the suffragette movement in England, which Neil wanted a combination of the two continents and their movements. I had to go to the library, which was just closing for the pandemic, and I checked out every book that they had regarding the subject. And then we all got locked up, so I got locked up with a lot of research material, and that was my first step.
Well, my first step was to do a Google search, and there's maybe a generational difference there, but because it was the 100th anniversary coming up, I found a ton of great recent articles revisiting the suffrage movement, revisiting sometimes left out parts of the suffrage movement, a lot of really cool stuff that kind of grabbed me right away.
Shout! 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 Come shout! You are shout! First in the shout of the sun, the shout of storm, shout! None empty shout! Raising your shout to a water.
Collaborating with Carolyn is always really rewarding. I think so.
No, I'm pleased to hear that.
We had worked together before, although not on a writing project, so I think we kind of knew each other's style a little bit. And we were in touch a lot about what kind of content the show would cover and where we might, for my part, slot in music,
Right.
what the content of those songs might be, how the lyrics might fit in with the characters she was drawing up.
The only difficulty for me is that I couldn't be in the room with her. We were separated not only by the pandemic, but by living in two different states. So it would have been hard to get into New York back and forth to Connecticut a great deal anyway, but I missed that being in the room collaboration. I think that we did very well considering that, we really were on Zoom a lot and on the phone and on email. And that's kind of how we put this together up until we got up here, really.
Yeah, except there was one weekend at Carolyn's house where Neil and I came to brainstorm the project, to read a little bit of the first draft of the script, which was definitely not yet in a final form. But I think we had a really lovely weekend. It was the last time I touched a human being outside of my household before the pandemic.
Yeah.
So
when the two of them left my house, I hugged them both goodbye, and they were the last people I hugged for a year and a half, which speaks a lot to deprivation in this pandemic. But the first reading, we read about 15 minutes of what I had written, and I said, let's stop right now. This is terrible. This is awful, and I'm starting again. And I did, I'm happy to say.
I can stand upon giants, taller and taller, and I can change. I can stand upon giants, their voices echoing mine, calling for change.
My favorite moment came late in the game, actually, because I wrote a soliloquy for Frederick Douglass to be delivered to the young girl, Catherine, about the future of women and what an impact the women who came before her have had. And that has turned out to be my favorite moment in the show.
for me, there's a song that I wrote for the show called Keep Moving On that ends in a big a cappella chorus. where the actors are just singing completely without musicians or musical support for quite a while, which is a really scary thing to do as a composer and a music director. You never know how a cast is going to handle it, but they sound incredible, and it brings me joy every night.
It is beautiful. It is beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Keep moving on, keep moving on, keep moving forward. The road is long, keep moving on, and have no fear. The sun is setting and the light bends, see it's golden. Keep moving on. 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 Keep